When I pushed the door open, my chest felt like it stopped. My living room had vanished. The plaster was knocked away, the sofas and shelves gone, and my sister stood amid a swarm of workmen barking orders as if she owned every inch. "Knock this down too," she ordered, pointing at the kitchen wall I'd been saving for years to put up. When she faced me, she didn't show the slightest surprise. She only smiled that thin smile. "Oh, Paige, you're early. Don't worry. I'm making your place livable," she said casually. My fist tightened. This was not her home. This was mine, the only refuge I'd ever trusted. If this shocks you now, wait until the end, make sure you subscribe and share this video because the twist is unreal. I could hardly breathe, watching everything I'd built being torn apart without so much as a word. Amber folded her arms and said, "You should thank me. You clearly don't know how to live properly. I'm bringing this place into the modern age." The laborers snickered as if I were invisible. My voice shook when I answered. "Amber, you have no right. This is my house." She rolled her eyes. "Paige, calm down. When it's finished, you'll see I did you a favor." Then my gaze landed on a spread of papers across the dining table. Blueprints, bank records, property files, and someone had scratched my name out and penciled hers in. My stomach sank. What scheme was she plotting? Before I could reach the documents, Amber stepped in front of me. Her grin widened. "Oh, Paige, you really expect to stop me? You've always been the weak link in this family. This house will finally go to someone who deserves it." I froze, heat flaring behind my ribs, but what she didn't know was that months ago I'd quietly set something in motion that could ruin her entire plot. Amber's words kept replaying in my head, sharper than the dust floating in the air. She wasn't only remodeling, she was trying to erase me. I stared at the blueprint where my name had been crossed out and felt something inside me break. Amber bent close, lowering her voice so the crew wouldn't catch their ears. "You've always been too soft, Paige. That's why Mom and Dad never trusted you with anything important. This house should have been mine from the beginning." Her tone was venomous, and then she laughed as if my life were a joke. I wanted to shout, to shove every worker out and reclaim my space, but something about her expression stopped me. Amber wanted me to lose my cool. Instead, I forced a composed smile, the sort that made her cock her head, puzzled. "You think you're in charge, don't you?" I murmured. Her smirk flickered for a beat, but she snapped right back. "Oh, please, Paige. You can't even keep a job." She waved the papers as if they were trophy cards. "I've already spoken to the city inspector. The transfer will be official soon. Not a brick will be yours." She tossed the folder down and strutted, certain she'd won. My gut twisted, but I didn't let it show. I picked up a sheet, skimmed it, and let out a soft, almost incredulous laugh, a laugh so. The room went silent so sharply that even the contractors froze mid-motion. Amber's brow furrowed. "What's so funny?" she asked. I took a step closer, lowering my voice until it carried an edge only she could hear. "You honestly thought I'd leave my home unguarded while I was away? That I wouldn't prepare for snakes like you?" For the briefest moment, her face drained of color. That was the reaction I'd been waiting for. Because inside my bag was something Amber never dreamed I possessed. The proof that every scheme she had been weaving would collapse on her in the cruelest way. And the moment I pulled it free, her false bravado began to crumble. Her smirk evaporated the instant the leather folder slid from my bag. Her eyes locked on it as though it were a loaded weapon. And to me it was. I laid it down on the dining table, swept aside a layer of dust, and opened it slowly. Inside lay notarized paperwork, legal notices, and a thick envelope stamped with the city's official seal. Amber's breath faltered. "What is that?" she demanded, trying to sound firm, but her voice cracked halfway through. I leaned back in my chair, deliberately casual, savoring her unease. "This," I said, tapping the envelope, "is proof this house isn't just some piece of property. It's federally registered preservation land. Every wall you've torn down, every change you've ordered, already illegal." The contractors froze in place, hammers raised. Their laughter disappeared. One muttered uneasily, "Wait, illegal?" Amber snapped at them, her voice sharp and defensive. "Don't listen to her. She's bluffing." But I saw the tremor in her hands. She knew I wasn't. I slid another paper across the table. "See the seal?" That's the preservation order. I filed it last year. Every single nail you've driven into these walls is a violation of federal law. And who's going to take the fall? Not me. You. Amber's face flared red. She lunged to snatch the paper, but I pulled it back and met her eyes unblinking. For years, you laughed at me for being quiet, for working long hours, for fading into the background. But while you wasted energy tearing people down, I was laying foundations for my future. And now, every move you make is walking straight into my trap. The contractors traded uneasy looks, edging toward the door. One muttered, "We're not part of this mess." Within moments, tools clattered to the floor and boots shuffled quickly out of the house, leaving Amber alone in the wreckage of her so-called glory. "Paige, you don't get it," Amber stammered, her voice unraveling. "I was just trying to make this place better." I cut her off with a sharp, cold laugh. "Better? By erasing my name from the deed? By stealing what belongs to me? No, Amber. This was never about helping. This was about control. You've always despised the fact that I could build quietly, that I didn't need to flaunt every cent I earned. And now you're furious because you finally realize I've been 5 steps ahead of you all along." Her lips trembled. "You can't destroy me like this. The family will never believe you." I leaned in close, whispering near her ear. "Oh, they'll believe me. Not only that, they'll watch it play out themselves. Because I invited them here tonight." Amber's eyes widened in horror. Before she could speak, the sound of car doors slamming shut echoed outside. Voices drifted through the entryway, cheerful, unsuspecting. My parents, cousins, even Amber's closest friends poured into the hallway, buzzing with excitement. They thought they were arriving to celebrate Amber's big renovation reveal. Little did they know, they were about to watch her unravel. Amber's fake smile snapped back into place like a mask. She rushed forward to greet them, her voice pitched high with forced confidence. Come in, come in. You're just in time to see the transformation." She spread her arms dramatically, ignoring the half-demolished walls and scattered tools. My mother's face tightened into a frown. "Amber, what on earth? This doesn't look finished at all." Amber gave a nervous laugh. "It's still in progress, but you'll see, it's going to be gorgeous. I'm turning Paige's rundown shack into something modern, something worthy of our family." The word shack hit like a slap, but I held my silence. This wasn't the time to strike. This was the time to let her bury herself. My cousin Mark leaned against the splintered doorway, smirking. "So you're really taking over Paige's place? About time someone did. She was never much good at handling anything." The group chuckled, their laughter bouncing off the gutted walls. Amber puffed up with pride, nodding. "Exactly. Paige doesn't have the vision. But me, I know how to turn this into something valuable." That was my cue. I stepped forward, steady and composed, the folder still in my hand. The moment I spread the stack of official papers across the dining table, the noise in the room vanished like a candle snuffed out. "Fascinating," I remarked, my tone slicing clean through their chatter. "Because from my perspective, all I see here is unauthorized construction." The laughter evaporated. Every gaze shifted toward me. My father's brows drew together. "Unauthorized? Paige, what are you talking about?" Amber's confident smile faltered. "She's lying. She's just bitter." Unbothered, I nudged the documents across the polished wood, letting each relative catch sight of the government seals and signatures stamped across the pages. "This property isn't just mine," I said evenly. "It's registered as protected federal land, which means every renovation, every wall you knock down, required clearance. And tell me, Amber, who exactly gave that authorization?" My stare locked onto hers. The answer, of course, was no one. A collective gasp swept through the room. My mother lifted trembling hands to her mouth. "Amber, tell me this isn't true." Amber's complexion drained, though she scrambled for an excuse. "Mom, Dad, please. Paige doesn't understand. I was doing this for all of us, for the family's reputation." But Mark, flipping through the paperwork, shook his head gravely. "These look legitimate. If she's right, Amber, this could mean serious legal consequences." Amber's bravado cracked completely. She turned toward me, desperation spilling through her voice. "Paige, don't do this. You wouldn't humiliate your own sister in front of everyone. I held her gaze, steady as steel. You did that to yourself the moment you tried to steal what was mine. Whispers rippled across the room, thickening the tension until the air felt unbreathable. Finally, my father's voice cut through, heavy with disappointment. Amber, you've disgraced this family. The silence that followed was deafening. I let it stretch, then allowed the faintest smile to curve across my lips. But this, I said calmly, is only the beginning. You all laughed at me, mocked me, branded me weak. Tonight you'll learn who I really am, and why none of you will ever look down on me again. The family exchanged uneasy glances. Amber's hands trembled, tears brimming in her eyes. She thought her humiliation had reached its peak. She couldn't have been more wrong. I reached into my bag again and withdrew a second folder, this one far heavier. With deliberate precision, I opened it and spread its contents across the table. Glossy photographs of a bustling office filled with employees, sleek corporate buildings etched with my company's name, and pages of bank statements boasting numbers that made mouths fall open. This, I said firmly, is what I've been building while you all mocked me. Years of late nights, endless travel, tireless work. I wasn't wasting my life begging for validation. I was building an empire. Today, that company employs more than 200 people. And last week, the city awarded us a contract worth $12 million. Gasps erupted. My father's jaw slackened. My mother pressed a hand to her chest. My cousins leaned forward, eyes wide, as if they couldn't reconcile the quiet, overlooked Paige with the businesswoman in those photographs. Amber shook her head violently, color draining from her face. No, this isn't real. You're making this up, you have to be. I let out a cold, sharp laugh. Lying? Then maybe you should ask Mark. He interviewed at my company just last month. Every head whipped toward him. Mark stiffened, crimson flooding his cheeks. I didn't realize it was yours, he stammered, voice faltering as murmurs spread through the room. Amber's knees gave way and she clutched the back of a chair, her voice rising in a broken wail. This isn't fair. It should have been me. I deserved all of this. I stepped closer, my words calm but carrying the weight of a hammer. You don't deserve what you try to steal. You ridiculed me for being quiet, for working in silence. But it was that silence that gave me strength. And now, Amber, in front of the very people you tried to impress, you stand revealed. Not as the strong sister you pretended to be, but as the desperate thief who's lost everything. The room froze in absolute stillness. Even my parents, who had always stood in her corner, couldn't find the words to defend her. My father shook his head, his expression carved with disappointment. Amber, I can't even look at you. Paige, we had no idea. We misjudged you. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel invisible. I felt powerful. Amber collapsed into a chair, sobbing, muttering again and again. It should have been mine, it should have been mine, but no one reached to comfort her. Not this time. I gathered my folders, squared my shoulders, and walked toward the door. At the threshold, I paused and turned back, letting my final words slice through the silence. Never confuse silence with weakness. Some of us are busy building empires, while the rest waste their time tearing others down. Those words lingered in the heavy air as I stepped out, leaving Amber broken, the family speechless, and my dignity restored. And that night, for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the underdog. I felt like the victor.